Just I wanted to do a short update on my Niro plug-in hybrid. I really like it. I talked earlier and in a previous video. I talked about why I bought a plug-in rather than a pure EV or an HEV, and I wanted to just kind of mention that again here. I've seen some videos where people were like, plug-in hybrids, kind of the worst of both worlds. You have to carry around, like you're carrying around the gas engine and you're carrying around the battery pack all the time, even when you're only using one or the other. But the car gets incredibly good efficiency, so the extra weight of the batteries or whatever isn't really hurting anything. To me, the the plug-in has a couple of advantage. The primary advantage right now is cost. The plug-in hybrid is quite a bit cheaper than the pure EV. And otherwise, if they were the same price, I probably would have gone EV. Although the plug-in has one other advantage, and that is that when you're traveling, you don't need to find a quick fast charger. Here in my county, and also we often go over to the Olympic Peninsula, to Olympic National Park, and there really aren't any there's a couple of towns on the Olympic Peninsula that have some charging stations, Squim, for example. But as a whole, and along the Washington coast, there really aren't that many charging stations. I live in Kitsap County in Washington, Kitsap Peninsula, and for example, here in our county, there are no Tesla fast chargers at all, zero. There is at least one Electrify America fast charging station that just went in this year at our Walmart. There may be a couple others, I haven't looked, in the county, but there really aren't very many fast chargers at all. There are a number of stage level 2 AC chargers, which is what the plug-in hybrid uses. But for a full EV, the level 2 charger, yeah, you could pick up a few electrons while you're shopping or something. But if you want to get close to a full charge, it's going to be an overnight, thing. So that's why Tesla calls their level 2 destination chargers, because they intend that people would put them at destinations like a hotel or a campground or something like that, and then you would charge overnight while you're sleeping. But there really aren't any destinations. There's no, there was, I was at the grocery store the other day, and there was a young couple there that had a Tesla, and I don't know if they rented it or they just bought it or they were test driving. I don't know. I don't know what the situation was because I didn't talk to them long enough. But they were trying to figure out how they were going to charge it, and they didn't, for some reason. Tesla has adapters that you can get that let you charge at the CCS DC fast chargers and also at the J1772 level 2 chargers. But they didn't. Apparently, for some reason, they didn't have any adapters, and they didn't really understand. So they had been up to the CCS fast charger, Electrify America, and they couldn't charge there. And they'd come down to the grocery store, and they're trying to charge at a level 2, J1772 outlet. And they started asking me some questions, and then luckily, a woman walked by who had a Tesla. And so she said, I've got the adapters in my car. Come and look. And so they went with her out to her car to look and see what she had for adapters that Tesla makes, and to explain to them, because it was like they didn't really have. I don't know how you end up driving a Tesla without understanding the nuances of charging it. So they were having trouble. But anyway, so in our county here, there's not a lot of charging options. There's some level 2. So that's, another reason to go with the plug-in hybrid is that I'm not tied. I can, when I'm overnight someplace destination, I can charge. I can get some decent mileage for short distances. In fact, let's stop. I'll stop. I'll flip this around and we'll look at the dashboard and look at some numbers here. When the car first turns on, this is the infotainment screen. When the car first turns on, it estimates the EV only range, and it always defaults to 24 miles, regardless of what my history has been. And I tend to get closer to 30 miles, sometimes more than 30, depending on how I'm driving and what's going on. So I would say 28 to 32 range is probably more realistic than what it says, but it always says 24 whenever I start the car up. I've heard that it would say 26 if I somehow turn off the heat and air conditioning. Apparently it thinks the air conditioning will take a couple of miles. I don't know. Let's see if I can get this down here where you can see it. So this is the accumulated info. So far I've driven 1,587 miles. Since I put gas in it, I've driven 653 miles, 243 miles per gallon, and that trip, that 653, that includes a trip over to SeaTac and back. So that's like a 3 hours of driving on one trip, on one charge, is included in that. I got on that trip, I got about 70, I think, for that one trip. Let me click over. When you start up on the individual trip, your individual trip is tracked here, and if it says 0 because I'm just sitting, I haven't started to drive anywhere. But if you start driving and you're on EV only, then the miles per gallon here says 999. If the weather's cold, it uses the internal combustion engine to if it needs to warm the cabin, so to provide heat. So even if it's an EV only mode, it'll start, the miles per gallon will be some number, because it'll run the motor for a little while just to run the engine, just to warm up the cabin. But if it's summertime like it is now and I'm driving, that would be 999, you know. So basically, I can get pretty much an infinite miles per gallon if I always make short trips, like less than 30 miles between charging. Here at home, I'm gonna have a level 2 charger, a 240 volt charger installed. But right now with the level 1 charger, I can do a complete full charge from like 10 or 15%. It never goes to 0. It clicks into HEV mode when it gets down to like 15% or something. And then it will hold it around there. It'll drop down to single digits, and it'll be back up around double digits for a while, and it'll bounce around. So from like 15 to 20% up to full would take over 6 hours, probably around 7 hours on a standard household outlet. This is I've got this set. I've got this home screen set as my default home screen, and it gives me my the radio, and this is what I use as a default. But you can, of course, set that up to be anything that you want to be is your home screen. You can click on this mode button on the steering wheel right here, and then you can tell it what you want the custom button to be, and it get it set to home. And you can also tell the mode button that you want to flip through these things if you push the mode button. As you can program this mode button on the dash, and but I've got it set. I've got the star just set for the home screen, and that's what I've got my home screen set up as, is 2/3 showing me what my current media is. That's the radio or my phone if I'm playing a live stream from my phone or something, and then 1/3 what my current battery situation is. So that's enough of that. But in general, I just want to say that I really like the car. The seats are very, very comfortable. It has sufficient storage room. I've got like a 1 meter wingspan glider, and I can fit it in the back here if I'm careful. I get incredible mileage. I don't have to worry about finding charging stations when I travel, because I can always rely on the gasoline engine if I need to. And for around town, I can drive on pure electric. The car rides very nicely. The noise in the cabin is pretty quiet. The only ride-wise, it's a fairly small car. So if you're going, like, we have speed bumps on our road, and going over a speed bump it's kind of jarring a little bit because it's a fairly small car, and so I wouldn't think it's a crossover hybrid, but I don't think I'll be doing any off-roading with this. On a rough road, it would ride a little rough, but on the highway, it's very smooth and very quiet, and the air conditioning works good. The media platform. I use Google and Android Autoplay because we have Android phones, and sometimes if Android Auto is connected, it kind of messes with the other infotainment stuff, and it's kind of hard. You have to kind of push the right sequence or something. If you want to I want to go back to pure FM radio, for example, to listen to, or I want to just turn the radio on. Sometimes it's hard to get the Android Auto out of the way. Get out of the way, you. So Android Auto has a few flaky things, but you can use, some of the apps, making a phone call while you're driving, sending a text message, checking the weather report. Those things are all incredibly easy. I don't have to say hey Google or hey Alexa or whatever. There's a little button on the steering wheel right here I can push, and as soon as I push this, she'll start listening to me. I turned the car off, so it's not going to do it right now. But I can make phone calls and hang up with these two buttons and that noise there. I've learned where I figured out how to use the cruise control. It's once you get the hang of it, it's really nice. The lane keeping assistance is nice. I love the backup alarm in parking lots because and the car has good good visibility, all around really. But it's sure nice to have that backup alarm and tell you that there's somebody walking behind your car, or there's somebody that's going to drive behind your car in a few seconds. It's really nice to have that. And it's also nice to have the warning here. There's a little light that comes on in the side mirror to tell you that there's a car in your blind spot. And when if you put the blinker on, like you were going to change lanes and there's somebody in your blind spot, not only is that light on, but it also beeps and warns you. It gives you some warnings and some beeps. If you're drifting over into the shoulder, it'll bring you back if the lane keep is on, and it'll also, give you a beep, a warning. Yeah, I have really, other than the fact that Android Auto is a little strange sometimes, I really have no complaints about the car itself. It's been really good, and to me, a plug-in hybrid is a temporary solution until batteries we get the supply chain problems worked out of the supply chain, and batteries are more readily available, and EVs are more readily available, and the car companies. It seems like the EVs they're making now, they tend to lean toward producing more for the luxury car market, the over $60,000 cars. And for those of us that can't afford a or don't want a $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 car, we're waiting for in the next year or two, I think we'll start seeing some more of the cheaper. Right now, the Chevy Bolt is probably the car that comes to mind when you're thinking of an relatively inexpensive, competitive with gas cars, small EV. I think we'll start seeing some competition in that end of the market here, hopefully in the next couple of years. And then when we see that, then we might be getting our second car. Then we'll trade in one of our other cars, and our second car would be an EV, and it would be a less expensive one. I don't think we'll be buying a Lexus or something like that anytime soon. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick update and let you know that so far I'm having a good time with this. I've done, well over 1,000 miles, 1,300, something like that so far on it. And no complaints.